Okay, if I can have your attention, please, as we said earlier, Ryan Newman is in here for us, along with crew chief Matt Borland, and Ryan drives the number 39 Quicken Loans Chevrolet for Stewart Haas Racing, and it's a reuniting of these two competitors. They have been together before in their career, and they got hooked back up again last season. But it's I think really interesting to see some of the success that they shared together. Just a couple of stats here with Matt and Ryan racing together in the ARCA series back in the day. They had 4 wins. In the Nationwide Series, they had 1 victory, and in the Sprint Cup Series, 12 wins, 37 poles, 52 top 5s, and 83 top 10s when these two guys have been teamed together. So got to feel good about that as they embark on the 2013 season. So I'll ask Ryan to comment about having Matt back with him, and then I'll ask Matt the same. And then we've got a little other question I'd like to ask them too about a really cool deal that's going on with Quicken Loans. But Ryan, talk about having Matt back with you.
Well, everything I was going to say I can't because he's sitting here. So. No, I'm just kidding. Really excited. The 4 races we had together in the end of 2012, I think our average finish was 7.9, and just really glad. Most people don't realize that Matt was the best man in Chrissy and I's wedding. So he's obviously always been a great friend, but from a competition level, a professional level, and a crew chief to driver relationship level. We've had great successes, and we've always had our failures because you can't succeed all the time in this sport. But we've learned from both the things that we've succeeded at and the things that we failed at, and really look forward to just getting back on the success train of wins and poles and leading laps and having good finishes for Quicken Loans and all of our other sponsors to what we, I don't want to say piece together, but what we put together last year for those last 4 races from a team standpoint. Matt's done his homework in the off season, and we're really excited to start 2013 with a good shot at winning the 500. They did a really good job of bringing a fast Quicken Loans car down here to qualify 4th. I made a mistake in the duel, and those guys have worked really hard to get the car ready for the 500, and I think we're getting really close to having a very competitive car.
Thank you, Ryan. And Matt, talk about being reunited with a driver that certainly you've shared a great deal of success with during your career.
Yeah, it's definitely been great. Ryan's an awesome guy, obviously a great driver. It's a little nerve-wracking being back on the box, making all the mistakes again, all those kinds of things, getting nervous about things. But it's awesome to work with him again and just hear all his feedback and be able to go out there and compete for top 5s and lead laps and do all those things that make the sport what it is and make it a lot of fun.
And also, Ryan, I believe that there's some special news today from your sponsor, Quicken Loans. I know you've got a little bit you want to say about that, but just briefly, it's called the Bring It Home Sweepstakes, which will pay 5 people's mortgages for a month each time Ryan Newman finishes among the top 5 in a NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race. That's pretty impressive. That's a great commitment from your sponsor, Quicken Loans. But talk about that a little bit.
Well, we're really excited with the partnership with Quicken Loans and Stewart Haas and myself to have them double up with their sponsorship of races, but something that really connects them to the fans is their sweepstakes programs. We had 2 successful ones last year, and this year's bringing home sweepstakes. Like you said, every time I finish in the top 5, regardless if it's a Quicken Loans race or not, 5 fans get to get their mortgage paid, and they do that by going on their QL Racing website and registering. And obviously, the more times you register per race or each race, the better opportunity you have to get that reward. So it's just obviously a great way. I mean, who doesn't want their mortgage paid? So Quicken Loans can offer that, and to be able to tie it all together with the race fans and our race car, we're really proud and excited to do that with them.
Absolutely. Again, thanks to Quicken Loans. Let's have questions now for Ryan and Matt. We'll start over here. Thomas has one, and then we'll get to the rest of them.
Thomas Pope, Fayetteville Observer. This is for both of you guys. Would you talk a little about the role of a test driver to have somebody like Scott Reeves come in from outside and the kind of feedback a test driver gives, and why you would go for somebody outside the company, so to speak?
Let me hit that one.
I think that was your question to answer.
Definitely. I mean, Scott and those guys were actually doing a test while we were down here running the 150s and that, and it just gives you that much more opportunity to go and do more testing, do more research to try and get everything right. So when we go and race, we have everything right. There's a lot of durability things with this new car. There's a lot of new questions, a lot of new things that are going to go right and wrong, and the more of those things you can figure out that are going to go wrong and get them fixed before the race, the better off you'll be.
It's mostly a homework program for myself, for Tony, for Danica. I mean, Scott can give us some feedback about the way the car is driving, but a lot of it really is the durability side of it, the testing side of it, especially with this year with the the rear end stuff as far as the camber and the axles and things like that. Some of the questions we've had in our testing, how that can be mileaged out. You can't really mileage it out on a race weekend other than racing it. So we mock all those things up in a race car and take it to the track and testing those things, or testing everything at different racetracks makes a huge difference. So you go to a place like Martinsville, you get the heavy braking and the heavy deceleration. Go to a place like Vegas, you're working on wheel bearing loads and things like that with more downforce in a race car. So there's a lot of things that they get tested that we don't want to have any worry about when we get strapped in for 500 miles here in Daytona.
So I got to necessarily have to drive a particular driver's style too.
I don't think it's as much that. Otherwise, they would have us doing it. I mean, it's just you want to have somebody that you respect and you trust with the information that you have. To be able to make it beneficial for everybody. Otherwise, there's no point in doing homework just to have somebody else copy it.
Got a question right here, Dave. Raise your hand. We'll get you the mic.
Dave Coleman, Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. You guys are both engineers. I'm kind of a technological idiot. Can you try to...
Can't answer your question. I'm sorry.
Damn. Can you try to make a sort of a simple explanation of how the shape of the cars and the shark fin and all that has affected the aerodynamics and the side draft and all that sort of stuff?
I think if you look at the front of all the cars, they're a little boxier. They kind of match. They for sure match their production counterpart, in which we're proud to have Chevrolets because it's the actual the race car and the production car are both rear-wheel drive, fuel-injected cars. But if you look at the shape of the car, it punches a little different hole. It's got some sharper edges to it. If you look at their old cars, whether it was back to the original car that I started with or the car tomorrow, they were much more rounded. And these cars have much less of that teardrop effect, that ideal shape that you would have for drag, and that makes the cars buffet around and move around a little, and the air moves around a little bit differently. And I think we've got a different situation now with the shark fin and the spoiler and the way that the two match and made up, in the essence that the spoiler used to actually stick out past the shark fin, and now it doesn't anymore. And the shark fin is just as tall as the spoiler, so you get some different aero interactions with cars on the inside of you and behind you than you were used to, and we were used to that for 3, 4, 5 years. There wasn't as much of a change, I would say, in the way the cars aerodynamically drove when we went from a wing to a spoiler as we went from the Gen 5 car to the Gen 6 car.
Yeah, and just hitting on that as well, then next week when we go to Phoenix and for all the downforce tracks, the package is totally changed and different from what we're racing here in Daytona. We're going to be having a lot more downforce on the car, a lot bigger spoiler, a lot bigger pan, whereas Daytona we've got smaller spoiler, less splitter, so you have a lot less downforce on the car. So there's also kind of two totally different packages within this same year in the same car.
Other questions? Let's go over here. Chelsea?
Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com. Have you all made a decision on whether you'll test at Las Vegas just before that race or not? I know a lot of teams seem to be up in the air whether they would or not?
We are. Right?
Just to make sure, you're talking about the day before the test or
Thursday.
the open test?
The extra day of practice.
Extra day?
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah.
Okay, you said the word open test, so where am I making a mistake?
Are you talking about an open test at Vegas, or are you talking about the day before the race weekend? Because the day before the race weekend is open to everybody.
The Thursday of Vegas weekend.
Yes, we will
was
be there.
originally called a test day, but then they changed it to a practice day.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Right here, Chelsea.
Yes, we'll be there. I still want to answer your question.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. Matt, considering what you guys have as far as resources, whether it's developing the test team or having a in-house wind tunnel, is it surprising to you that your 3 cars placed in the top 5 in qualifying?
Surprising, maybe yeah, maybe no. It obviously the guys have done a lot of work over the winter. A lot of focus was put on trying to make the cars qualify really well. So from that aspect, no, it's not surprising. But you never know when you come down here what you're going to have. And it was fantastic with all the work that Mobile did, all our partners did, helping us get those cars ready, and then just executing it on qualifying day. It was great to see. So, like I say, it's kind of a double-edged sword there. You're surprised, but you're not surprised.
And we were second in Talladega by thousandths of a second last year. So we had speed last year. It wasn't all of a sudden we just got speed.
But so the plus that Tony keeps going to Mobile One, there's something beyond just being kind and responsive.
Mobile.
We have integrity in our answers. Yes, we believe that they make a difference. That's why we say it.
Over to the right, Marty.
I got a little laryngitis. Sorry, guys. Marty Smith, ESPN. When you think back to winning this race, what comes in there? What's there?
Say the first part. When we come back.
When you think about winning the Daytona 500.
Me personally,
yeah.
I think it was an amazing moment in my racing career, my driving career, my family, and all the things that go into it. From myself personally, for Roger, my dad, so many people. But it's in the past. The track's changed, tires have changed, the cars have changed, my crew's changed, a lot of things have changed. I know I still have the ability because the walls and the banking is still there. It's virtually the same. That I have the confidence to do what I need to do. But you can't just say that because I've done it I can do it again. If you do and you do it, you merely got lucky. It was it takes a lot of things to make it right so that you can be in victory lane on Sunday.
Carlos.
Carlos Mendez, Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Ryan, when you look at Tony, what do you see in his body language this week after the week he's had with you and Danica in his own car?
Just he needs a couple hours at the chiropractor. That's about it. No, I think he's. What's that supposed to mean? I didn't say in the gym. I said at the chiropractor. I think he's definitely very happy to see the way that the car's qualified. That's a big part of it coming here, and we were very open about it when we tested here that we were put our emphasis on speed, not drafting, for at least from the 39 side. So to come here and do what we did in qualifying made somewhat of a statement, no doubt. But Tony also knows that when the racing starts, the speed is only a part of it. There's a lot more to it, and we all have to be shiny at what we have to achieve. But body language-wise, he's Tony. He's usually got a bruise right here from a rock in a sprint car. His neck hurts a little bit because he got it up on its side. That type of thing. That's his body language.